Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Front Porch Knitter. I'm not on my front porch today. I tried to wait for a day when I could be out there, but it's been too windy and too rainy and just too much going on. So it's been a bit since I've been to see you, so I thought I'd pop in. A lot has happened. I think when we last spoke, I was getting ready to head to New Brunswick for the Fiddlehead Fiber Festival, and I was going to be going to pick my aunt up in Florida, so I'll talk about all those things. And yeah, it's been good. Spring's been busy, but that's a good thing. So my name is Lucy Ann, and I can be found as the Front Porch Knitter on Instagram. And on Ravelry, I'm there just as my name. So lastoop, S-T-O-O-P, if you want to check me out there. I'm kind of excited to be getting on with you. Every time I decide I'm going to record, it's sort of like this big push to finish some things and to get some things sorted out and deal with some stuff. And my friend Heidi, who I'm sure will watch this, is coming to visit in a few weeks. So one of the things, my goals, is to get my stash a bit more organized so that I don't feel like it's so chaotic. Because, you know, Heidi is the most organized person I know, and I am not. That's just how it is. We're still friends. It's okay. And so I have a lot of exciting things. There's a little bit of family stuff, which I'm excited to tell you about because it really made me feel good. And let's get started. So I hope you all have been having a good time. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, welcome, and just be aware that my world is just a teeny tiny bit chaotic. I'm just going to give you a little turn because I could have moved me, but instead I moved the camera. Yeah, it's just how I am. It's how I roll. When you watch this, it's the real me that you get. So sorry. If you don't like me, that's okay. I'm not worried about it. So let's start with some finished objects. And I will tell you that the first thing I'm going to tell you is one of the finished objects from the last episode has been frogged, the lento. It just wasn't the right yarn for the right pattern. Like, I think the pattern is fabulous. The yarn was too drapey, and it was a cashmere blend. So I just frogged it. I love the yarn. I will make something else out of it, and I will make another lento, like both things. But I just wanted you to know that it didn't disappear off the face of the earth. That's just what happens sometimes. It's okay to frog things, just believe me. And this first finished object, I am not certain. I haven't shown them before, but it's not a big deal because you would never know. I could have had 2 more balls of this yarn and just made another pair. But anyway, this is just a pair of vanilla socks. These will fit either one of my boys, and probably, they're a little big for my husband, but either one of my boys would be able to wear these. This is a Patons Kroy. I think it's just called Casual Sock or something like that. Just no pattern. Vanilla sock, fish lips, kiss heel. Probably 64 stitches. This is sort of what I knit all the time. So I have those. And I spent a bit of time in Florida and needed some plain knitting and some quick and easy things to do. So I have this cute pair of shorties, and these are done. Let me pull the tag out because I have a whip in this as well. So these are done in Regia cotton cocktail, and I'm not sure what this colorway is, but it's fun, so it doesn't really matter what it is. I mean, it has a number, but that doesn't really tell you anything. But they feel really nice. They're 100% cotton, done on 9-inch circulars, US 0, Canadian size 2 millimeters. And it is, I want to make sure it's 100% cotton. No, 72% cotton and 18% polyamide. So it's a really nice yarn to work with. I've worked with it before. You've probably seen other socks I've made with this blend. I like doing some shorties. I don't have a lot of shoes I wear socks with in the summer, but I do like having a few pairs of short socks in my selection. And I also did a hat. Now this is a sort of a beanie style. The yarn hasn't been blocked. The yarn is Ancient Arts Socknado, and it's just a 5-point decrease. There was no pattern, like no real pattern. Like I ripped it out and started it over a couple times. I did a double brim and then made it so it rolls, and just a single my son, sometimes he likes big hats with pom-poms and sometimes he likes beanies, and he wanted this. It's a lighter hat. It has warm over the ears but lighter in the top. He wanted this one for like early mornings in the spring and fall. He works on a golf course, so it's perfect for that. And the colorway is, did I say this already? Larch Valley. And I had 100-gram ball, and this is what I have left. So enough to do something. I haven't weighed it. I finished it last night because that's what I do. And the Socknado is a little heavier than some sock yarns. This is 350 meters, 200 grams. So I guess it might be almost a sport weight. It's somewhere in between, right? Like the different yarns are like that. But I really love working with this Socknado. And I've knit lots of socks out of this for the boys and my husband, as well as for myself. It wears really nicely and they knit up a little quicker. So I like that. Oh, and it was, just so you can know, it was in my wireframe bag from Two Sticks and You. And I'll link them down below. I love this bag. It's just it's very dog hairy right now. I should maybe brush it off. That's what happens when you have a black and white dog. I also had started already last time I saw you, this top I'm wearing. It was completely frogged and restarted. So this is just a Raglan Tee. I just sort of cast on what I thought was the right number of stitches. And I didn't make notes, so I don't even know how many I cast on. And did the Raglan increases till it was the depth I like, and a few short rows in the back. And it's just as plain can be. And I love it. And it is done in, I've worn it, like this might be the third day I've worn it this week. Lion Brand Coboo, which is a really cost-effective yarn. And it's 51 cotton and 49 rayon from bamboo. So it's really drapey and yeah, it feels really nice. And this is also one of the yarns recommended for knitted knockers. So it's very, very soft. And I've only washed it once since I blocked it. Cotton sweaters, I do find I have to wash more often than my wool sweaters, partly because they lose their shape a bit more than the wool ones do. But that's just part of the process. And then I was going to the Fiddlehead Fiber Festival, and I was going to wear my Ziva from Fogbound Knits, which you all saw on the last podcast or the one before. But I wanted to have another top to wear. And, you know, because I don't have any. I have no knitted tops that I own already. I had to knit a new one. If you believe that, I have some swampland for you in Florida. But I knit this, and I'm sorry, it's a bit wrinkly because it was in my drawer, and I've worn it a fair amount and it hasn't been washed, so it's a bit pilly in the underarms too. This is a pattern Joji Locatelli did for the, for Brigio? I can't remember. Or Madeline Tosh. And it is, let me just tell you. Yes, Lounge Top by Joji. And the yarn is my friend Robyn, who owns Close Knit Friends Yarn Shop in New Brunswick. You can find them online on Instagram for sure. And then you'll find the link to their website. This is her custom colorway from Botanical Yarns in Nova Scotia. And why is it the gray hairs fall out faster than the brown ones? It's like they're everywhere. And it's called Robyn's Crabapple. So it's a nice variegated yarn. Now, I had 2 skeins of this. This top called for a little bit more than 2 skeins. And I thought, I might get away with it. So, no, I didn't. I had to make some modifications. So what I did was I knit the top as it was supposed to be knit. And it's got a bit of a curve on the bottom. And I did that in the main color. And then I just added, to get the length I wanted, I just picked up stitches on the inside and added like a false tank top underneath it. Like it looks like I'm wearing a white shirt under, but I'm not. It's part of the sweater. And then just did one round of one row of the garter in the original color, 2 rows. This is just leftover Leo and Roxy Basics I had in Leo, might be the color. It's white anyway. And then when I blocked it, at first I was going to put color catchers in because I was a bit worried, because this is botanically dyed yarn. And so I was a little worried about color bleeding. And then I thought, no, because if I let a little bit of the color from the sweater, like the main part, bleed into the white, it just makes it look like it goes together more. And so I did that, and I'm happy with it. I probably could have fixed it if I wanted to, but I'm happy with the little bits of pink. It almost looks like it's the opposite, with more white than pink instead of more pink than white. And I have worn this a ton. It is so easy to wear and so comfortable. It's an easy sweater to knit, just a garter neck and garter around, well, it's not garter, it is garter, around the armholes, garter bottoms. It was so easy to knit, so comfortable to wear. And the great thing, everyone always says, oh, how can you wear a wool sweater? I have tons of, I probably have 5 or 6 merino t-shirts. And I really like them because they're warm, but they also are wicking. So I can wear those any day in the summer. So why can't I wear a merino t-shirt? Yes, it's a little bit heavier. Like I wouldn't be able to wear this on a 35-degree day probably, but there are lots of days in the summer, even when it's warm, when this is just going to be perfectly comfortable. I wear my Rocket Tee all summer and it's merino. So that was finished, and I wore it at the show. And both Robyn and Botanical Yarns were there. I think her name's Sarah. I can't remember. I could look it up, but I can't remember. And it's always fun when someone recognizes your sweater right away. I think that's always so cool. And they recognize that it's their yarn or their colorway or whatever. So I finished that and I'm pretty excited. I've been wearing it a lot. It might almost be due for a wash or at least a cleaning, because it's a little bit pilled. And that's because we've had a cool spring and I've been wearing it under my jean jacket a lot. And the denim, the seam in the underarm is hard on the fabric. So then the next one I did, and this one is quite interesting. So this is Rebecca Clow, who is the Crabapple on Instagram I don't know if she's the Crabapple on Ravelry or if she's her own name, but she also does the Crabapple podcast. She did a t-shirt, this pattern release that is meant to be sort of like this one, which I just sort of did out of my head, but it's meant to be like the canvas for anything you want to do. Just a really basic Raglan t-shirt. And I just finished this one. I haven't blocked it, although I don't always block cotton things. And I haven't worn it yet. I just finished it yesterday, sewing in the ends. And I had leftover from my Autumn League pullover that I did last summer, a couple of skeins of the cotton jeans in gray. And then, and I've probably shown this to you in my acquisitions somewhere along the way, I always, whenever I go into a thrift shop, I always check out to see if there's any yarn or needles, or there's always, like if I find needles, like I'll pick them up, because even if I don't use them, there's always somebody who wants to learn how to knit, and then I can just give them to them because I've paid like $2 for whatever, and gives them a place to start. But I found 2 balls of this Scheepjes, depends on where you're from, how you say it, cotton. And it's Granada. And this has probably been around a while, I'm not sure. It's a 50-gram ball, 100 meters. So I had 200 meters of this. And I had, so basically I had 2 balls of this, which is a DK, like 200 grams, and I had 100 grams of this. So how am I going to use those 2 things? So this one is made in Holland, but let me find the content on it. 100% cotton. And the other one, the cotton jeans, might have something else in it. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find a label for it. Cotton jeans is a very hard label to read. 100% cotton. And it's from Lion Brand. And I might have shown you this the last episode as well, because I have enough to make another Autumn League in their faded denim colorway. Anyway, so I'm going to use the Tolsta T, which is Rebecca's pattern. And I want to make it using those 2 yarns. So I did do a little math and a little figuring out. So what I ended up doing was I did the increases of the raglan right up to the underarm in the gray. And then I did the body, 5 stripes of red and 3 stripes of gray. In an ideal world, it would have been 1 repeat longer, but when I was done, I had about 1.5 meters of the red left. I had a little tiny bit more of the gray, but 1.5 meters of the red. So what I did was I split for sleeves. I did part of the body. Then I went and before I started the second ball of the red, I did finish my sleeves because I didn't want to run out before. And I just did one stripe and the ribbing. And then I finished it as much as I could and followed the pattern. I really like the way it fits so far. I haven't washed it or anything yet, but I'm really liking it. I think it's going to look great with a pair of jeans or a pair of denim shorts. And I really like this cotton jeans. I already have a sweater out of it. I do really like the way it feels. It feels very much like a favorite sweatshirt. So that's the Tolsta. And she has options for stripes, eyelets, applique. I can't remember what else she did. The testers did a bunch of different options and put them in. And this could be, if you only had one DK Raglan t-shirt pattern, this could be it, because you can do whatever you want with it. And it's going to be, I'm looking forward to being able to wear it. So that's pretty exciting. So I think that's all my finished things. And if I forgot anything, I'm sorry, but you might see them later. I might talk about them another time. Who knows? I have also been doing a fair amount of knitting. So I have a few whips going on here. The first one I'm going to show you is, yes, I worked on this. And I mean, I haven't gotten very far on it. I did finish the, this is my, I can't even remember what it's called now. The Stephen West MCAL for this year, Twists and Turns. So I think I was pretty nearly done this section when we talked last. I completed this section and I embraced Stephen's, if it doesn't quite work, fudge it attitude to make it fit. And I started, where's the other side? I started this side's traveling stitches. So I really sort of, like, I don't have a whole lot left to do on it, but it isn't the easiest thing to put down and pick up. Like I have good notes in my pattern. I just have to keep paying attention to where I'm at. And so I want to get this finished though. And I'd like to get it finished sooner rather than later, just because it's hanging around and it is now my oldest whip. And yeah, I'd like to get it done. And it's all done in Cascade. So Cascade, Heritage and Wave, I think are the two. Yeah, Heritage and Heritage Wave. So the Heritage is tonal. It's the gray, the oatmeal in the green, and the variegated is the Wave. So I am hoping to get that done soon. And I am working on it. And someone else just finished theirs and they sort of made the comment that it was, late. It's never late. We knit because we love it. If getting it done inside the time of the MCAL is important to you, do it. I always think that MCAL is at a tough time of year to put a lot of deadlines on because I don't know about you guys, but I'm gift knitting when that CAL starts. And it's always complex. It's always a lot of information and a lot of new skills. And sometimes I don't have the headspace for that in the fall. I'm also a lot busier with my other job at that time of year. So yeah, if you don't, it's never late. It's in your own time. And that's how it should be. Those great tutorials and all the information for the pattern is always there. I enjoy them. Like I really enjoy his MCALs. I've done a couple, but I also just enjoy his patterns. So will I do it next year? Maybe. Depends on how I feel. It depends on how worried I am about missing out and not knowing what's going on. But the reality is I can just look on Instagram and see what everybody else is doing and I'll know what's going on. So why am I worried? Right? I shouldn't be worried. So I'm just going to tell you about this whip. I can't show it to you. And no, it's not some big mysterious mystery knit or anything like that, or test knit. It is the Imagine Landscapes mystery knit along. And I have done so many of her mystery knit alongs and I love them. So stuffed in here is Nifty the gnome. Most of her is in here. I'm waiting for the next clue. I am caught up on this one, which is, and not because I started and did it every day like I was supposed to, because I sat my butt on the sofa this weekend and I got a lot done and I caught up last night. So it's in here. I'm doing it in a heavier yarn than called for. It's normally done in fingering and I'm doing it in a DK just because I had some leftovers that I really liked how they went together. And when I read the information on the pre-cal, they sounded like better color choices than a different gnome set I had that might have worked, but I wanted to save it for something I knew it would shine in. And I think I'm going to felt it because the Patagonia Organic Merino will felt. And I think felting it will give it kind of a cool look because it's got some neat stitches in it and some things that I think felting will help. So look forward to this next time when I will show it to you. But I can't yet because there's still one more clue to go. And it's not too late to start it if you wanted to. It doesn't take very long to knit. And I think we have until early July to put in to get our pictures in for the prizes and things. So, you know, I mean, the clues only came out for a couple of weeks. So even if you started it now, when all the clues have been released, you could still have it done in time to enter if you want. So they're fun. Gnomes are like palette cleansers for me, like socks. They're just those little bits of fun and interesting techniques. It's a great way to try out new techniques because a lot of the gnomes do have like mosaic knitting or color work or cables, and it's small. Gauge doesn't really matter. You can use yarn from your stash. You can buy new yarn, whatever you want to do. They're just a lot of fun. So that's what that is, and I can't show it to you. Now, I mentioned a minute ago or earlier that I had another pair of socks on the go from this Regia cotton cocktail. And so I have one done, except for the heel. The heel still has to be cut in. And it's basically the Rose City Rollers pattern. But I think I don't know what kind of heel it used, maybe short row. And I'm going to do a cut in. And I've got the second one, well, 2/3 done. So I'm looking forward to finishing those. But this is always the problem. 100 grams easily does 2 pairs of shorties for me or for my daughter and I. And then I have this little bit left over. And when it's cotton, it's not so easy to use. I guess I could put it in my Cozy Memories blanket. So because a few bits that are cotton throughout it aren't going to make a difference. But yeah, and I'm also doing these on my 9-inch circular US 2mm. And I like these this twist interchangeable set, because when I use 9-inch circulars, I really need 2 needles to do the whole sock. And they come, oh, I dropped some stitches. Oh, it wouldn't be a podcast if you didn't drop stitches, right? Let's see if I can grab them quickly. There. They come with 2 sets of tips and 2 cables. And let me just pull these out. And I like them because one tip is longer than the other. You see that? And they, yeah, so one tip is a 2-inch and one is a 3-inch. And it has 2 cables that I think are the same length, but I'm not sure. And what I do is I put one long one and one short on, because that makes the movement around the circle better. It just makes it run more smoothly, I think. You do you, but that's what I think. And so yes, they're expensive to buy these like this, but I like that I get 2 sets of 2 different sizes of tips. And really, when you think about it, $15. It works out to around $15 or $16 for the whole set, or for each needle, which isn't that, like, I mean, that's probably what I pay anyway. I don't know for sure. Oh, you know what I don't have with me, but I can just tell you about? When I get to acquisitions, I'll have to remember. So those are the socks I currently have on. I have a couple more, like, sort of busy work things. I started this because originally, on my last trip to I needed something to knit on at the festival in New Brunswick. And then I knew I was going to need something because later in May, I also went, and my husband was supposed to be going with me, which meant I was going to be a passenger, so I need car knitting. And I like to have a few different things because I get bored of knitting the same thing. And I had gotten this cake of Sublime, the luxury brand by Sirdar, Eden Double Knitting. That's what what the label says. Can you see that scarf? That's the pattern on the label, and it was 55% wool and 45% cotton. And it's a 2-row, there's only 2 rows to the pattern, so that's what I'm working on in this, and I'm almost done. So this is what I'm down to, just the very inside, and it is a long bias, like a scarf. And I think when I block it out, it's going to come a little, because the cotton is obviously going to have lots of give, so it's going to be a bit wider than a scarf, but like just for around your neck in the winter, or in the summer, or in the spring and fall. Like I can see this with the jean jacket. So this is really light blue. This is how it went. Light blue, sort of a denim-y color. A bluey gray. Fuchsia. It's a mess right now because it's all crammed in the bag. And like a raspberry red. And it's got a point. So I'm almost to the end. And I'm just now going to just finish it up because it's now, there's not enough left of it for it to be a journey scarf, because I would finish it really quickly. But it was perfect for what I needed for, you know, just mindless knitting. Or at the festival, we sat in the lobby of the hotel through the day and chatted with people, and it was the perfect kind of knitting for that. It will look way better blocked, because right now it just looks like this snaky curly thing. But I am looking forward to finishing it. And I probably picked that, I don't know when I picked that skeiny yarn up. It was probably pre-COVID, and I'm thinking I might have gotten it at Mary Maxim, because I can't think of anywhere else I shop regularly that carries any Sirdar yarns. So I'm thinking that. I have 2 more whips. I know I have a lot of whips right now for some reason. Although, and I have my Cozy Memories blanket, which is downstairs, but because I haven't worked on it for a while. This is my half and half. Oh, let me make sure I say it right. Half and half triangles wrap by from Pearl Soho. And I think they did it in linen quill, but I remember the story about I ordered the yarn from Cottage Craft to do my twists and turns shawl in, and it didn't come in time. And so I bought alternate yarn, and then the Cottage Craft yarn came, and that is what, this is the blackberry, which is, I just love this color. See how it's like black and red and purple. And so the first half was done in that. And I guess I cast on between, I had yarn between the small and large size. And so I cast on a number in the middle, and I guessed wrong, but that's okay. So I just, oh, that's the back. I added this wasabi from Patagonia Organic Merino. And then to make the other side, because it was going to be the cream match, I had some navy. So I have in the corner this, like a little half and half. And then the rest will be cream. And I'm, I don't know, about a third, which doesn't really tell you anything because the rows just get longer and longer and longer and longer. So yes, I'm a third of the way across, but I might only be like a 10th of the way done. But this is my early morning knitting out on the porch when it's cold, because I have this big thing all over me, and it's still pretty cool here in the mornings. And yeah, so it's perfect time to knit on this. And it's mindless, so I can easily knit and read, drink my tea, and it should be done. Based on my current rate, it should be done by fall, which is when I would use a nice, warm, cozy wool wrap. So I'm pretty excited to get that done. And it is living in my, let me close this up. Wild Strands Alice in Wonderland bag that I got at Yarn It on my way home from New Brunswick last year. I really like this bag. It's nice. It's perfect for a big project like this. It's a good size drawstring bag for something like that. And so that's pretty cool. Let me just get some things out of the way. My next knitting, I am doing, also by Rebecca Clow of the Crabapple, I am doing the Corin cardigan, which is, oh, it's not on needles right now. I just joined the shoulders. So I'm finished the front and the back. And it's this, it knits so fast. It's this really nice lace weight, or not lace weight, lace pattern. I'm doing this in Cascade Hampton, which is 70% Pima cotton and 30% linen. I don't know what this color is. Blue. It's blue of some description. This is the same. It's actually, so I know we all do this, right? We go to the store and we buy things, and I've done it. I've bought the same lipstick twice because it was the one I liked and the old one wasn't done. I just wanted a new lipstick and I'd buy the same one. I bought the exactly same color and the same yarn that I did my cedar top in from Joji Locatelli last year. But I really like it. And I mean, I didn't realize I bought exactly the same color when I bought it. But anyway, I'm liking how it's coming together. So I need to put on the sleeves and then do the button band. This is a great option for a summer cardigan. It's open. It's like you could wear it just over a tank top on a cooler day. You could have it to go over a t-shirt or whatever on a cool evening. You can do it short sleeved or long sleeve. There's options in the pattern, V-neck or round neck. I'm doing the round neck long sleeve version because I think that's what I'll get the most wear out of. And yeah, it's a DK weight yarn and it's knit on, let me see, size 5, I think, 5mm needles I'm knitting it on. Bearing in mind, I not only adjusted for my gauge, but I also adjusted for the fiber. These cotton and linen blends tend to grow a little bit when you block them, and this open work will grow for sure. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to get this done. I really like it. And it's, because it's so open, it's so light. Doesn't go with this other top very well, but I'm just really liking it. And it's a simple, I guess it's a 4-row repeat, but it's one of those ones that's pretty intuitive. So once you've done it a couple times, you can easily read your knitting to know which row you're on, which I like when I'm on the go. Not reading knitting, but watching television knitting for sure. I think patterns should have that in their rating. Suitable for watching television. Suitable for also read, although everyone always laughs when I tell them that I'm also reading. Sorry about that, dropping that on the, I just threw that. Sorry. Yeah, and I have one more work in progress that is not a knitting or it's also an acquisition, so it's a combo thing. So when I was at the Fiddlehead Fiber Festival, I took a drop spindle class. Okay, don't look very close at this because it's like fat and thin and hasn't been plied yet. Like this is just the original spinning. But I love the color. Look at all the colors in there. And I actually stopped yesterday. Let me just wind this off so I don't lose it. It's my drop spindle. Got it at the class. It's a Ashford drop spindle. It's nice to work with. Like I don't have anything to compare it to, but I find it nice to work with, so I'm not too worried about, like I can't say whether it's better than something else or not because I've never done any before. The only spinning I've ever done before, a few years ago at Christmas, I asked for a spinning kit and the kids gave me one, and I did spin, but I obviously didn't know enough, which is why I wanted to take a class, and I'm really glad I did. And it was from Lynn with, I think it's where the wildflowers grow, yes. And her name is Lynn Piercy. And this is the fiber. Pull it out. We each got 50 grams of fiber. And it was a 2 or 3 hour class. And look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at all the colors in there. I just really like it. It's so soft. This is the problem, right? I have a yarn buying hobby. I'm absolutely terrified that I could also have a fiber buying hobby. This is Corriedale Merino, Silk Merino, and Alpaca Merino. So it's got lots of stuff in it. So I'm kind of excited to finish it and then ply it, I guess. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want it to be this thing that's so precious I never use it, because that's silly. But I only have 50 grams, so I don't know what I'm going to be able to do with it. Maybe a headband, or I don't know. We'll see how many yards I have when I'm done. But I'm looking forward to finishing that. And it is really soft. And I'm getting better. Like, you can tell from the beginning to the end that I'm getting better. But I do enjoy doing it. So I just have that little bit left to do. So that'll be fun. So that's what I've been knitting. Okay, we're 42 minutes in, and all I've done is talked about what I finished and what I've been knitting on. 45 minutes of talking about stuff I've been knitting. That's crazy. Wait till you see the acquisitions. That's crazier. So just after I spoke to you last time, I guess a couple weeks later, I went to the Fiddlehead Fiber Festival. Here's my pass. I still have it. So it was the 12th and 13th of April. And I was so glad I went. It was so much fun. My friend Robyn from Close Knit Friends Yarn Shop, and she put it on, and my friend Heidi helped her with some things with it. So I went and stayed with my friend Heidi, who lives just around the corner from where the festival was. I did not stay at the hotel, which is sometimes kind of sad, because that means you miss out on that late night hanging out knitting that happens. But I had a good visit with them too. And I probably got more sleep because of it, because it was a bit of a whirlwind. I flew down and flew back. Yeah, so I didn't have a lot of time. I just borrowed my mom's car for a couple days to go up to the festival, because it's a couple hours from my parents. And then I hung out at my parents' house the other days. But I'm really glad I went. Among other things, I got to meet some people who I've only ever followed. And I'll try and put some B-roll in here somewhere that you'll see of the festival. I took some. It's always debatable whether I could upload it or not. So we'll figure that out later. It might not be here. It might not end up here at all, but just know that it was amazing. There was tons of great vendors. And one of the things that amazed me was the amount of sponsorship she got. Like, it was unbelievable. This bag, so I got this canvas bag because I was, I don't know, an early registrant, I think. And some of the things aren't still in here because I've used them. But all those people got a copy of Saltwater Mittens, which I love knitting these Newfoundland type mittens. And most of the patterns use my Briggs & Little yarn, which I also love. So I got a copy of Saltwater Mittens. We got a skein of Briggs & Little Regal. I don't know what color this is called. Horizon Blue. Looks coming out a bit gray. It's a bit bluer than that. It's kind of a, I don't know where it needs to be, baby blue color. A skein of that. My note paper isn't in here. A bookmark from Maritime Stationery. Finesse Your Knitting by Lucy Nippy. So a DVD class by Lucy Nippy. And a postcard from the town of Florenceville. And there was a pen in here and some note paper and things too that I've already used. Like, so that's pretty significant. That was just, you know, the early bird registrant thing. So, you know, that was a pretty, I had no idea. Like, I knew there was something, but I had no idea it was going to be like that much stuff. That's pretty cool. So I got that. And then I won a door prize. And I can hardly wait to knit with this. I've never seen this before. Angora Merino from Regia. And it is, let's see what it says on here. 65 merino, 25 polyamide, and 10% Angora. And it is incredibly soft. There's two colors. I could do mittens, I think. I have 50 grams of each. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. But that was a pretty cool door prize. So that will become something lovely and soft. And then, of course, there was lots of cool vendors there. And I shopped. And I didn't shop with every vendor. I ended up leaving some stuff behind because I flew, and I flew with carry-on. You will notice there's no ball bands on any of this yarn. And I'm sure those ball bands are an incredibly safe place, that I put them somewhere that I was never going to forget where they were. I have no idea where it was. Not a clue. But I think I remember what everything is. So, the first, oh, yeah, another skein fell. I got 2 of these and 2 of this color, which will be a nice, I mean, that's 400 grams of sock yarn. So that's 1,600 meters-ish to do some sort of top. Sweater, striped. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it. I got this from Botanical Yarns, which is the same as this dyer. And so this is me. I love all these things, but they're not all in my budget. So these are all oopses. And so just so you get an idea, I have no idea what the oops is on these pink ones, but on this sort of oatmeal colored one, somewhere a couple of drops of color went into the yarn. And I don't know if you can see that. There's just a couple of drops of color on there. Maybe off her gloves or something. And so it was a second. So I got them on a deal. I love a deal. I mean, not a deal at any cost, but I really wanted to buy some yarn from her. And this way I could buy 4 skeins, and if I was paying full price, I could maybe have only bought 1. So I think that's a bonus. And she then got rid of a bunch of things out of her mistake basket, so she didn't have to carry them around anymore. Win-win. So that was pretty cool. Then the next place I shopped, so this I did pay full price for. This was the festival, and I can't, because I don't have the ball bands, I can't remember what they're called. This was the festival colorway that was done, and this is a sweet skein of mine, Amanda. She lives in Fredericton. She's a dyer, but look at those colors. So to get all this stuff home in my carry-on, one, I had to unwind all the skeins and take the ball bands off and put them in a safe place. I know I did that. And then put them in a bag I could suck all the air out of from the dollar store to get them flat enough to fit in my suitcase. And I still had to leave things behind at my mother's because I couldn't get it. But isn't that going to make a gore? Don't those two go together so well? I just love that combo. There's little bits of that rust color in the speckles. So I got this sock set from Amanda, and I shopped her bargain bin. And hers were like test colors when she was trying some stuff out to see what she thought. So this one's on this is like a grayish blue main color with lots of other colors in it, like gorgeous colors. This is gonna be beautiful. These are all either 80/20s or 75/25s. And look at this one. This one's just the similar but fresher, brighter on a whiter base. I really like Amanda's yarns. I mean, you've seen me use them. The very first skein of hand-dyed yarn I bought was a Sweet Skein of Mine skein. She just has, her use of color is amazing. And look at in here. Look at these colors. Isn't they fun? Yeah, I'm pretty excited to do something with these. And, I mean, I couldn't use these two together for sure, but I could use either one with something else. Like I could find a complementary color to go with them, which would make them great. So that was pretty exciting. And then Yarn Indulgence. This is their linen, it might be a linen silk. I think that's what it is. I just love this color. I looked at this the first day on the Friday evening of the festival, and I said, oh, I don't need another top in that kind of yarn. I have enough. You know, the talk you do in your head. And then at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, it was still there. And I thought, well, if nobody else has bought it, it must have been because it was meant to go home with me. So I bought it. I really like another person who I really appreciate their color sense and their fibers that they use. And Yarn Indulgence is now based in the Maritimes, originally she's based in, I think, Moncton-ish, like in the outskirts somewhere probably. Was originally from Burlington, so not very far from me, here in southwestern Ontario. But I don't know what I'm going to make with this, but I am looking forward to making something out of this. I really like it. And it is quite soft for a linen blend, which would be the silk in it. So I'm kind of excited about that. So that was the Fiddlehead Fiber Festival. But I was staying with my friend, Heidi. And Heidi, I'm going to apologize right now because I can't remember what all was in the bag, but I know there was lots. I get to their place, and she had my goodie bag from the festival because Robyn had sent it home with her, and my birthday present, because my birthday's in May, which was really early for a birthday present for me, but that's fine. She gave me this gnome set, which I've since balled up, but haven't made anything with. And it is Ancient Arts, and it is Turkish coffee. Sorry for the crinkling. Morisot Woman in the Mirror. Apple. And you will probably recognize this one if you follow me at all. French River. And they're all in the Socknado base. So that really cute gnome set. Heidi also does a lot of the mystery gnome things. So, and she used that sock set for the last one. And it was very cute, that little mini set. And I'm pretty sure this was in there. This is me being a horrible, horrible friend, Heidi. This is just a set of skein of opal in 7525. I don't think they have names for theirs. I think they're always just, but I really like these colors. You can hear people in my house. I always try to do this when no one's here, and then I forgot today's Wednesday, which is the day the guys go to golf early. And I'm pretty sure this was in there, this cute little sock. Stitch marker. And there was a gnome stitch marker, which is on my gnome, so you can't see it. Sorry, I can't take it off. You'll get to see it another time, maybe. And then she also gave me this. Lucy Neat Bee's Cool Socks, Warm Feet. It's just a lot of good information about knitting socks, as well as some patterns. I typically don't use, I do some pattern socks, but a lot of what I do is just vanilla socks, cast out a certain number of stitches, do my thing. But I do appreciate, look at that. Wouldn't that make a great slipper sock? It's called the mermaid sock. Checkered socks. I do appreciate seeing what other people are doing and what they're doing with the different yarns, because sometimes... Hi again, everyone. It is 24 hours later after my phone died, and I had to clean out a whole bunch of craziness because apparently my storage was full. Who knew? Who knew? Anyway, so I think we ended up with my birthday gift from Heidi, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Heidi. I know that I may have gotten it wrong because I had to take all the things I got that weekend apart to make them fit back into my carry-on. And I should have written things down, and I didn't. You guys know me. That's how it goes. I think I'm in a different spot now. Let's see. Is that a little bit better? I can't tell. Doesn't really matter, I guess. Anyway, I still have on the same shirt. I put the same earrings in and everything so that it would have a little bit of continuity. Anyway, so after my whirlwind trip to New Brunswick, because I literally flew in on a Thursday and flew home the following Tuesday or something like that. I was home for exactly just over 24 hours before I flew to Florida to pick up my aunt and bring her back home, which was great. I love doing that. I'm happy that I was able to be able to go to Florida. So that was really important to me. But while I was there, local yarn shop day happened on the Saturday. And if I was home, I would have gone to my local yarn shop, which is the Little Red Mitten, or another yarn shop in the area. And, but I wasn't home. So I went on Ravelry and I did a little bit of, snooping around to see what yarn shops were close to where my aunt lives in St. Petersburg. And I found this really cute little shop. And I think what you always do is you look for places that have the same kind of vibe that you do. That's what makes a yarn shop work for you. And there could be one closer to you, but it just isn't right. And that's okay. Go to the one that's right for you, because it's going to be different for everybody. Anyways, I found a couple. Some of them were already closed, but they hadn't been taken off Ravelry yet. So I found this one, and it was about 15 or 20 minutes from her place, and it was in Largo, and it's called Creativity. And I don't know why it's spelt that way, but there must be a reason. And it says on here, alpaca apparel, decor, yarn, and more, but it certainly was a fiber shop, in like there were little bits and pieces of other things, but mostly it's a fiber shop. And it just had the most amazing vibe. It was obviously a place that had built a community. It had a central table that for sure looked like people came and knit at it. And actually, while we were there, normally they have a Saturday morning knit in kind of thing. And some people came who would normally have been at that. So yeah, I just felt really good about going in. And I didn't know, but the first, whatever the number of people was, got a goodie bag. So the green bag I just showed you was the bag I got. And in that bag was this really cute little zipper pouch, which could be used for a pair of socks or notions. And an enameled pin from the store, Creativity, which I will put on one of my knit bags. A little bag with some, like a little frog applique, keychain, and a progress keeper, all with the names of the store on them. And what knitter doesn't need measuring tape? So just a nice regular, I guess it's a 60-inch measuring tape. And I thought that was pretty cool because they certainly hadn't expected that. You know, I was going because it was local yarn shop day, and I thought it was important to support a local yarn shop, and you know, you do what you do where you're at. And I happened to be in Florida. So when I pulled up, the weather wasn't fabulous. It had been threatening rain, but it had not yet rained. And outside they had these bins of yarns that were discounted. And I picked up this merino yak. It's 100 grams and it's 58% wool, 28% polyamide, and 14% yak. It is incredibly soft. It's a Regia brand. So the premium, it was really nice. And it was quite a big discount. So as we've previously, as from earlier in this episode, you will know that I love a bargain bin. And it's almost always the first place I head when I go. Well, the other thing they had going on, which was amazingly cool, is they still had a lot of shibui. And if you've ever knit with shibui and are aware that they no longer are selling, they've closed and are no longer making yarn. And I really like shibui. I've used it a few times. I used to work around the corner from a store that carried their full line. And so when I would go for my lunch walk, I would walk past it every day and see the samples, and was a sucker and bought lots of shibui and made things back in the day. But I specifically decided when I went in, they had a big sale on shibui, and I thought, okay, I know the Canadian dollar is crap, but the Canadian dollar being crap and the sale kind of balanced out. And they had it all, it was all half price. So you can't beat that. So I got a sweater's quantity of this one, Shibui Nest. And I don't know what this colorway is. I bet it's on here somewhere. It doesn't say what the colorway is. It's a black and red marl. Oh, here's the color, Shiraz, like the wine. So I got a sweater weight. It's a DK. They're 50-gram balls or skeins, and the light is not as good today as it was yesterday. And 50 grams, 160 meters. And it's a 75-25 fine Highland wool and alpaca. So that's, It's really more of a wine color, and it's not coming out really good. It's not so pinky, more wine with a marl. So I got a sweater quantity of that. Probably a little more than this sweater quantity, but I know I can't get any more, so I didn't want to take any chances. And yeah, and then years ago, I made a tank top out of Shibui reed, and this is the color Abyss, and it's fingering weight, 50 grams, 225 meters. Linen, 100% linen. And I have a blue tank top out of this that I made years ago from passing that store. So I bought enough to make another one of those. And it's really soft. I like it. It's not, some linens are really crunchy. This one's quite soft. And then, I don't even know what this is going to be, but it is. So I got this Lunar, and this one is 50 grams, lace weight, extra fine merino, 60%, mulberry silk 40 in the colorway Blueprint. So I have a little under 800 meters. Actually, I have a little over 100 yards. So 730 meters. And this is very soft. And I also got Shibui Cloud Silk. And this is lace weight. The colorway is Deep Water. And it is 300 meters. And it's 60 mohair, 40 silk. So I have 4 of these. So I have I have 1,200 meters of this. So I could use those two together, but they aren't exactly the same meterage, which would mean I'd have some left, or I could pair this with something else and make a sweater. Either way, I have enough of this to make like a tank top or something if I want to, and I have enough of the mohair to do whatever I want. So that was the extent of the yarn purchases, and I'm not going to tell you what the threshold was, but since I met the threshold they had, I also got their 2023 limited edition little LYS Day Creativity stitch marker. Yes, I spent more money than I should have in American dollars, which is crazy. Right now, it's so hard to buy in American dollars because the Canadian dollar is just so bad. But, you know, it was local yarn shop day. It was 50% off yarn. I bought a lot. I also had to pack that home. And that I actually just got a big Ziploc bag and squished the air out of it because I was also traveling with only carry-on. Note to self, leave room for the yarn. Apparently I don't always do that. So yeah, I got home, I guess May 2nd from that. And then I was home for 2 or 3 weeks. And I did a lot of knitting, and you saw the results of some of that. And I was trying to behave myself a little bit because I, you know, in April spent a fair amount of money on yarn. And my husband and I were supposed to be driving to New Brunswick together, but then he had some issues with work, so I ended up driving to New Brunswick by myself. So my aunt went with me, the one who had been in Florida. She lives in Quebec City. I picked her up on the way, and we went down there, and I had some work. Plus, I was doing some stuff with my parents, and she was just visiting her brother, my dad and her other brother, and some friends of hers from university and things like that. And I celebrated a big birthday while I was there with my best friend from high school. Well, she's still one of my very best friends. And my cousin, who is more like a sister to me, the one whose dad I redo the socks for. In back episodes, you'll see that. And she's also the one who helps my parents out quite a bit. And they were both in my wedding party as well. And yeah, we did some fun things. Like we brought in Chinese. So this is an aside. You know how everybody, like when you're a teenager, you have this place, or a university student, you have this place you go after you've been out, and in Fredericton, that place was the Diplomat, which at the time we were in high school and university was still a hotel, and it had a Chinese restaurant attached to it that I'm not sure. I don't know if it ever closed, but it was open really late. I do know that. And we used to go to the Diplomat for food because remember, I'm old. Back in those days, there weren't drive-throughs for everywhere, and they didn't stay open late at night. And so we used to go to the Diplomat for Chinese. It also was one of those places where you could easily do takeout from. That wasn't a fast food place. Anyway, so for my birthday, my friend Faith, who is usually my traveling partner when I go to Briggs and Little, to their mill, her and her husband picked up Chinese from the Diplomat and brought it back to my parents. My mom had made her famous chiffon cake, which everybody loves. And she is finding it harder now to stand at the stove for a long time. So I made the boiled icing to go on it, and didn't do as good a job as she does because, you know, that's how it works. But, and my aunt was there, and my cousin Colleen and her husband, and Faith and her husband. And it's too bad John couldn't be there because we just had a great evening, and it was so much fun, and just to hang out and yeah, be with people. It was great. And eat Chinese food, which was really fun because we didn't know if my dad would eat it or not, but he did. And he ate a lot of the leftovers, so that's good. Yeah, so we had a really good evening for my birthday. And then the next day, we booked pedicures, Faith and Colleen and I did, and we went and had our pedicures done. I would show you my feet, but suffice it to say that the color on my toes is called Cherry Baby, and it is pretty bright, and it is pretty red, and it's fun. Yeah, and it was a great place because we all got to sit beside each other, like we were sitting 3 in a row, and it was really open, and we could talk, and it was just a really nice place to go for a group pedicure. And it was called the 10 Spot. It's in downtown Fredericton. So if you live in the Maritimes and you want to know, I will put the link to them down below so you could find them. It's right on the main street, Queen Street. So that was also pretty easy. So it was fun. And then afterwards, we went to one of the things about the Diplomat that I already spoke about was it used to have a pool patio. Well, when the hotel got torn down and all that stuff, and a new hotel went up on the same site, and they also put in a pool patio because it's like a Fredericton icon. So we sat on the pool patio, and it was like 35 degrees, maybe more. We sat on the pool patio drinking frozen beverages. I was driving, so mine were virgin, and eating nachos. And like, that's just something I haven't done. It's not something I would take the time to do. So it was really fun to do it. And just a whole afternoon of sort of doing nothing, which was great. Yeah. And then the rest of the week just went as it went. And I worked on the Friday. I was doing a conference I had to be at, but I didn't need to be there till around 2. And so in the morning, I made sure I left in time to go to Legacy Lane. And I've ordered from Legacy Lane lots of times. None of these balls have ball bands on them either, I don't think. Oh, yeah, this one does. Legacy Lane is a fiber mill in New Brunswick in Sussex. And they mostly process alpaca and alpaca blends. But they also have a shop in town, and they, they have lots of lovely things. And I can't tell you about all of them because some of them were the things I bought were Heidi's birthday present, which was a 7-day countdown to her birthday. And doesn't start till next week. So I can't put it in here because in case she watches, she would find out before she opens the little surprise packages. However, Heidi is notorious for opening things like Advents before she's supposed to. So she may have already opened them. I have no idea, but hopefully not. Anyways, but I did pick up a few things for myself. They had, they had a half price bin of discontinued colors and things that were, you know, maybe last skeins and different things. And I picked up this. The colors are so bad today. The light is so bad. It's bottle green. So imagine, yeah, it's not picking it up really, really well, but it is a bottle green color. So just imagine a green wine bottle. That's the color it is. It's worsted weight. And sort of, I guess emerald is the color they call it. It is 70% merino and 30% recycled pop bottle fiber. So it's a beautiful color. It's a beautiful yarn. I think it's probably going to be a hat for one of my boys because it's the right color to be that. And then they had a basket. Like, it seems funny because I bought a lot of other stuff there, but I don't have it here and I can't show it to you. They also have a basket of like light skeins or mill ends and bits and pieces, and it's sold by the ounce. And you don't really know exactly the fiber content, but I picked up this bulky, which is for sure enough to do a headband. And it's very, very soft, so I'm pretty confident it has alpaca in it, which I really liked. And then, as you know, I make a lot of gnomes, and sometimes my bits and pieces are all bright colors because that's normally what I knit with, but sometimes a gnome requires a neutral or a dark. So you can't tell, but this is a navy. And this was just a little piece of marl that I thought I could do something with. And another little gray tweed or marl. I'm not sure if it's a marl or a tweed. And some wine. And then this really neutral, probably undyed. Just to add to my gnome collection. They're all fingerings that I can add to my gnome collection basket. And that was so much fun. I met the lovely Kathy there. I had never been into the store. We had a great chat. We talked about all kinds of things. Yeah, it was just really fun. And it really felt like a comfy store to be in, like a comfy shop. So if you're ever in Sussex, New Brunswick, be sure to stop in. If you're looking for some beautiful alpaca yarns, go to their website. I'll make sure it's linked below. Just had a really, really, great hour or so in there. And had a lot of fun. And of course, you know that in the past, I have sort of plotted my route home from New Brunswick and looked for some yarn shops along the way. So I knew I was taking my aunt to Quebec City. And so I didn't want to stop before that because we were trying to get back in time for an appointment she had. So I didn't want to adjust our schedule at all for that. So we got to Quebec City and we were, I was looking at the different shops that there were. And the one that I came across was Lambiscott. Now I have their business card somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. Probably in my bag. And they had a lot of really nice things in there, but I wanted to get something that wasn't easy for me to find anywhere else. So I got these 2 skeins. Oops. One is, Lifesaver, is the colorway. And it's an 85, I think they're both 85/15s. And 100 grams, 400 meters. Look at that. That is just going to be such a cool stripe. I can hardly wait. And this one is, where did it go? I want to say, here it is. Hudson's Memories. So it's kind of Hudson Bay colors. I'm pretty excited to try these. I've never knit with their yarn, but I do really like it. It was pretty tough to pick. They carried a lot of Rowan. They had a lot of Barocco, Cascade, some other local dyers. They had, just a pretty wide variety of things. A lot of notions, a lot of needles, a lot of accessories, which is always nice to see. And I also got, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I got this one there too. This little, anyways, it says Love Wins. And I just thought it was nice to support a little Pride Month stitch marker. I was pretty excited about that. And yes, it's always fun to plot those. And then I drove back, and if any of you in the northern US or Eastern Canada, as you all know, we had that first week of June, we had a lot of smoke pollution. Like, it was just really bad from the forest fires. And so I was driving back in kind of crappy weather, and I'd hoped to stop at Grey Heron. Well, I did go to Grey Heron, but unfortunately they'd had to close for the day because of the air quality, and just to protect themselves and their customers. I mean, you know, I completely respect that. But so then I had to find a different little yarn shop to stop on my second day of my drive home. And I have always wanted to go to the Lane Cafe, Village Lane Cafe in Ajax. And I had a chance to. And it's not hard to get to. It's just off the highway, but it's on a little tiny street that they obviously rerouted Kingston Road around, and there's this little stretch of it that's old Kingston Road that you sort of have to go off Kingston Road to get to. And it's there, and it's just in a cute little location. And the young woman who was working there she was just so bubbly and so excited, and yeah, she was great. And that's one of the things I always like, right? It's the aesthetic of the people who you meet. And so I wandered around in there, and I picked up a few things, and then I will tell you a story about this young woman. So again, because I'm all about the bargain, inside the door they had a basket, and it was like last of discontinued colors again. And so I love these Timber Yarns twin socks, and I've knit several of them. And this one is called Tea Time, and each one's 50 grams, each one's 200 meters, and it's I want to say 75-25, 80-20 merino nylon. It's just fun colors. So looking forward to knitting that. I don't need to add anything to my stash. And then I saw this, and it's called Don't Forget to Eat, Allison Barnes yarn. And I'm not sure where Allison Barnes is from, but she's obviously an independent dyer. It's her basic sock base, 80-20, 420 yards per 115 grams. That always drives me crazy to mix yards and grams. But anyway, I can figure that out. but look at the colors. It just screams spring, but it's called Don't Forget to Eat. And, you know, I could do that, knitting and reading, and all of a sudden I go, oh, I haven't had supper yet. Those are usually the nights I have popcorn. Not a good alternative. And I showed you that I had been doing some spinning, and I may have caught, I'm just going to pull this out so you can see it, caught a bit of the fiber bug. And so I picked up this, it's from the Fiber Imp, and it's called House of Cards. It's 150 gram braid. And I just really like the colors. It's very soft. And yeah, I am looking forward to spinning this. It is merino, straight up. But I couldn't resist it. So that is going to be, you know, I sound like a pro. That's going to be my next spin on my drop spindle. Like, is that even really a thing? I'm sure there's people that's all they do is drop spindle because they really like the process of it. And I'm a process knitter for sure, so I suspect I will also be a process spinner. But I'm really looking forward to spinning that. I love the colors. And then the young woman and I were just chatting away about different things, and she said to me, I said to her, I said, oh, what kind of things do you knit? Because she asked me what kinds of things I knit. And I said, oh, sort of everything. I said to her, what kinds of things do you knit? And she said, well, I just finished this wrap. And I said, oh, cool. And she said, I have it in store. I'll show it to you. So she showed it to me. And it was called the Whitby wrap. And it is on Ravelry. And I'll link it down below. And I will see if I can find a picture of it to put in here. And she showed it to me, and it was glorious. Hers was a mustard yellow, which isn't a great color for me. But she did it with 2 skeins of this Juniper Moon Cumulus, which is, I don't know if it's blown or chainette. It is incredibly soft, 94% cotton, 60% 6% nylon. It says it's a 4, which makes it a worsted weight, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty heavy worsted weight. And the color is rust. It's really kind of a burnt orange color. Not as brown as rust, I would say, but it is unbelievably soft. And perfect for like a summer wrap. And yeah, she had it on, she just threw it on over her black linen dress, and it just looked like perfect. And so I thought, yeah, that's something I would like to knit, and it would knit up quickly. And it's a 2, I think she said it was a 2-row repeat, so it's the kind of thing you could do in the car. So I picked this up. Because, you know, all you got to do is tempt me, and I go for it. So that was my drive home. I highly encourage anyone who is going on a holiday or a trip or whatever they're doing to either do the plot your route thing on Ravelry, or to look for, and it's under the, if you click yarns, I think if you click yarns, one of the options is local yarn shops, and then there's a thing further down where you can put in, you can click it and put in where you're starting from and where you're going to, and how many miles you're willing to go off the main route. Bear in mind that for me, for example, driving from New Brunswick to my home, it included in the main route both the 401 and Highway 2, because both of those roads go all the way across. But I don't go on Highway 2 because it's lovely if you have time. You go through every little town, but it's not fast by any stretch of the imagination. And it was also nice to have those shops to look forward to as I went along, as a place to pop in for a break when I drive by myself. But with the smoke and the air quality that day, I was so glad that I picked a couple extra places to stop. It wasn't that it really affected me physically, but it was more a mental thing, like that you could see the smog, the smoke in the air. And I'm sure it must have been coming through my car air filter, but I didn't really feel like it was. Yeah, so then, like, I was home for 4 days or 5 days or whatever, and it was Worldwide Knit in Public Day. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do or where I was going to go, because we're blessed with options here in Southern Ontario for places and activities and opportunities. And there were things happening in London and there were things happening in Woodstock. And I opted to go to the Little Red Mitten because there were a couple things I wanted to check out, and I'm a member of their birthday club, and I just gotten the information for my birthday discount day, so I wanted to see what was going on before I got there. And they were doing some sales, and yeah, typically, in theory, the people I would meet there should be more local to me than if I went further afield. So I did go there, and I'm really glad I did. I met some new people because I went alone and just, said, "Hi, can I sit with you?" And they said yes, which was great. But there was also some sales in the store. And you go in and there's always those things you see. And so I did some shopping. I got this skein of sock yarn. It's one of their themed ones, but I don't know which one it is. Opal Pretty it's called, and I don't know what the colorway is or anything else, but it's sparkly. So that'll make fun socks for somebody for Christmas. And it's 100 grams, 71.26. And the thing I like about Opal is it's a little more durable. I think it's superwash, but like Kroy, it's not as, it doesn't say it's superwashed. It says virgin wool, so it probably isn't superwashed. But I like the texture. And I got this Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock, which is, I'm the worst, 80/20 and 388 meters per 115 grams. So a little heavier than fingering. It's maybe a bit more like sport weight. Sort of probably like the Ancient Arts Socknado base. And this is called a Rosé Day. So it's kind of blush pink with pops of bright pink and rust. And it has some yellow tones to it and oranges, but there's not a lot. You can see them. So I think that's going to be pretty. And I'm sure some of the girls would like to have socks made out of that or something. And I haven't used a lot of the Sweet Georgia yarn. I've heard great things about it, but it's that whole thing. It's the other side of the country, and I just don't always access it. I'm just looking here in my deep bag. So I also picked up a sweater's quantity of Remix Light with the intention of doing Andrea Mowry's Traveler hoodie. She just released it not too long ago, maybe a month ago. And it's, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of a heathered, heathered kind of teal color. And this is 100% recycled fibers, 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. I have done, so this is the lighter version, so more of a sport weight. I have used Barocco Remix in the heavier weight to do the super simple summer sweater in the raspberry and cream. It's in a back episode if you want to see it. And yeah, I love that sweater. It's so easy to wear. I think this will be a good all season sweater because I'm not usually that cold. I get warm, but this will be, I'll be able to wear it all the time. So I did buy a sweater's quantity of that. And I'm a sucker for stuff in a basket at this checkout. I got to the checkout and they had a whole bunch of Addy Turbo needles. They must be not going to carry them anymore. I don't know. Or these are an older style. But I picked up 3 sets of them and 2 12 inches in 0 because that will let me, I can do socks. Oh, not 0. 2 millimeter. And a longer cord to do magic loop in 2 millimeter as well. Because sock needles seems to be what I always run out of. So that was pretty exciting. And they were a smoking deal. I'm not... Okay. Probably close to half price. I'm not sure. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah. So that was the only place I went that day because our daughter messaged and said she was coming over. So I had planned to go to another local yarn shop, or not local yarn shop, Knit in Public event, because in Woodstock, the Thoughtful Artisan was doing, and I wish I had gotten there. She was doing, it was Cultural Canvas Festival in Woodstock that day, which is like a multicultural event, and they had a stage with different like Caribbean bands and Bhangra dancers and all different kinds of things going on the stage. And the Thoughtful Artisan, she has a mobile yarn shop, and she was parked quite near there, so and had people knitting outside. It was a nice day, and I'd hoped to go there and then just sit and knit and listen to some music but you know, when the kids say they're coming, Mama makes sure she's home because it doesn't happen all the time, and I know it's going to happen less and it's going to be harder. But so I didn't want to miss her, and yeah, I'm glad I got home in time to hang out. And she had her son with her, and they were doing we were playing some games and doing some fun things. So that was great. Yeah. So I have a couple of other things I just wanted to talk about briefly, even though the color is terrible and I now feel like I'm scrunching down and it's not very flattering. I have this tank top that I made. I don't remember what the pattern is even. I made it last year and I do quite like it, and I wore it a fair amount, but I found that the sweater kept growing. It's a really neat construction. You can see that it's ribbing and it's all integrated, like it's all one piece with decreases here at the shoulder, and then you knit the rest of it. And I really liked it, and I wore it a fair amount, but I kept having to do things with the shoulders. So it doesn't look great, but this year I took out almost 3 inches. And when I knit it, before I washed it, it was the right length. But what I want to really say is make sure you know what your fiber's going to do. And I should have known better, because I do know that this happens with cotton. And this is 100% cotton. And I don't know, it might be something like Lion Brand 24/7, or like it's not like it's a commercial yarn. Anyway, so I ended up steeking the shoulders. Yes, I steeked cotton. Not my best moment. it ends up being a little bulky in here, but you don't really notice it when it's on, because I had to do quite a few rows of crochet in there, and then cut out the middle parts, fold it under the rough edges as much as I could. I probably could have sewn it on my sewing machine, but rather than never wearing this again because I didn't like the way it fit, this was the option. And there is a bit of bulk because I had to crochet through the fabric to make sure it didn't unravel. More than I would have if it was wool, for sure. But I can now wear this tank top again. So all that to say, think about what your fiber will do. And as you knit with more fibers, you know, and different people now have heard me say, because I hadn't knit for cotton for a while when I made this, or I knit things that it didn't matter that it stretched a bit. This year, lots of people have heard me say, I go down a size, and I often go down a needle size too, as well, to, because I know that's how much it's going to grow when I wash it. And yeah, I have even been known to put my cotton knitwear, throw it in the dryer for a little bit to tighten it back up again, because it does stretch a bit more. Because one thing is it's heavier, like it weighs more, so there's more weight on the stitches. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that. Then the other thing I wanted to talk about briefly is, you guys know where I am with my family and stuff, and everybody's doing some things, cleaning out their houses, and my aunt was cleaning out her place. I already have my dad's mom's sewing machine. It needs some work. It's old. I'm never going to use it as my primary machine, but it was a good machine in its time. But my aunt had this, and this is her knitting needle holder. And it needs a bit of love. There's a section in here that needs to be glued back in. It's a weird place for it to have broken, but I will make sure that happens. And I thought it was just going to be her needle case, but there's some old needles in it. And, you know, so these needles were most likely from the 30s or the 40s, is my guess. My dad's mom was not a big knitter, like that wasn't her thing. But, and weirdly, there's 4 of this size. So like the rest of us, she's lost some needles. I have no idea what size it is. I haven't measured them. 3 of this size. And then 2.5, a pair of 2.5s. These are stainless steel. And I don't know if these 2 are a pair. They feel like they probably are. And I will probably never knit with these needles because, among other things, they're much longer than I would use. I'm pretty sure she was the kind of knitter who anchored her needle under her arm when she worked. Well, probably been this way. I don't know. I don't do that, so I have no idea. But I'm thinking that she probably was, because that would have been a lot of Dutch women. And my grandmother immigrated to Canada in 1953. A lot of Dutch women at that time would have, like, that's how they would have learned to knit. And she probably knit more because it was a thing you were supposed, like, you know, it was one of the chores you did, not, I wouldn't say for pleasure. Same with her sewing machine. Part of the reason she brought such a lovely sewing machine was at the time they immigrated, you were only allowed to bring a certain amount of cash. So what you tried to do was bring the things you would need. Like they brought fabric and like unusual things. First of all, not knowing where they were going, because they went to a small coal mining town in New Brunswick. And so this is always my criteria of how I don't know if you can buy underwear in that town now. like you probably have to drive 20 minutes. Today, in today's cars, you have to drive 20 minutes. So you would only get into town maybe, once or twice a month. It probably had a grocery store, but not a big grocery store, like just a, and people would have had their own gardens and all those kinds of things. So it was just, it would have been a different way of doing things. But she had no idea what she was coming to this new country. And so she brought the things she thought she would need. And knitting needles, and she brought yarn. My aunt actually knit the yarn, a lot of the yarn that came with them. She knit it eventually when she was an adult. And she would only have been 10 or 11 when she came to Canada. Maybe 12. My dad was 12 and she's a year younger, so she must have been 11 when they came. So those are the kinds of things that they brought with them. And this was important to her. I don't know if it had belonged to her mother or her stepmother before her, or if she bought it new to come. I have no idea. But it will be in my knitting room for a long, long time, and it will be treasured. The other thing, and this just goes to show the resiliency of wool. The other thing they did was they mostly bought new blankets to come because they wanted to because they couldn't bring out cash. They wanted to make sure they had things they needed. However, this blanket my aunt gave me, and it has a very odd pattern on it, I think. I don't know if you can see. It's very geometric. Sort of, well, as my aunt said, she felt like it looked like a Navajo blanket. And maybe that was what it was supposed to imitate, because it has that kind of geometric patterning on it. But this wool blanket is 100% wool. It's certainly felted over the years. It would have been for a single bed, I would guess. Had been the blanket my aunt had on her bed when they lived in Holland. And she figures it's well over 80 years old. And it was one of the only old blankets they brought with them. And they brought this one because it was special to her. She needed to have it on her bed, like lots of children need to have things that comfort them. And interestingly, her children didn't want it. And it wasn't that important to her anymore. So she asked me if I wanted it. And the story alone to me is so important. But this blanket is except for a little bit of the stitching around the edge is gone. In a couple of places. I can't find them now. Yeah, like right here. You can see the stitching is gone. I can't find anywhere. It's a bit felted, but this blanket is still going strong after more than 80 years. Like it could be even older than that, she said, because she doesn't know when they got it. She only knows how long she remembers having it. And, it's very likely it wasn't a new blanket when she took it over. So I'm very blessed to be the keeper of these things. And I do think it's beautiful. And these fibers we work with, some of them are just fun things, but some of them could last a very, very long time. I think of some of the wool sweaters I've knit over the years and how long they've lasted. And, I did my dad a fisherman knit and when I was in university. And I don't know how much he wears it, but I know it's still in his closet. And I had sweaters, that I'd had for 20 or 30 years, and they were still in excellent shape. It's more than just, like, we all do it to pass the time and all those other things, but it's also a bit of a picture of a point in time in history. And Yeah, okay, that's sappy. That is really incredibly sappy. I'm sorry. This color is really bad compared to the other device. I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't like to get too sentimental, but I do love the fact that I now have my grandmother's, knitting needles and her knitting needle holder, and that I have this blanket that was on the boat with my dad and his sister when they came across. My dad doesn't remember anything about the blankets because he just wouldn't, right? Like, I'm sure none of his brothers remember anything about the blankets, but I am blessed to have this blanket. I have several blankets from my mom's mom, and the really cool thing about those blankets is they're McCausland blankets from Prince Edward Island, but my grandparents always had a small flock of sheep, and they would some years they would have their wool made into yarn to knit socks, work socks and mittens and things, and other years they would trade their wool for blankets from McCausland's. And so pretty much everyone in our family has a few of the McCausland blankets. And, we know they aren't actually made from the wool from my grandparents' sheep because there's no guarantee of what wool went into the blanket. But we do know that the wool was traded for those blankets, which is pretty cool. And that makes those blankets special. And it's always interesting because there's a few different patterns that were really popular probably through the years. And like my mom had one she always got, and her sister had one she always got, and every family sort of had their pattern they liked, and my grandmother would get them blankets out of those patterns. And when my grandparents when they emptied my mom's parents' house, there were still several blankets wrapped in the paper. They came from, no one had ever used them. They just weren't needed yet. And part of that is because those blankets last and last and last. I know I have some of the ones I have here are more than 50 years old, and they still look great. And my mom's are probably even older than that. Well, they've been married 60 years, and I'm sure she has some she's had since she's been married. So, and my grandmother's would have been even older than that. And when one of my great aunts passed away, I got some of hers because she didn't have any children, and I had a big house full, so I got some of her blankets. It's just such a cool thing, right, to have those things. And I get that today people want to be really minimalist and all those other things, but I also think that having practical, useful things, not clutter, practical, useful things passed down through families is a really cool thing. So that's my little story about my blanket that I just got, and I love it. Well, that's it. That's all I have to talk about before anything else happens, and I have to piece together, because I normally don't even edit, so I'm gonna have to piece this together and pop in a couple pictures of a few things and go from there. I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. And if you made it this far, yeah, you must be just about as crazy as I am. I am always thankful for your comments. I would really appreciate some likes, and if you really think you want to find out what's going on in my crazy life, feel free to subscribe, because I'm sure when my friend Heidi comes in a couple weeks, we'll be up to some hijinks, and you might want to not miss those. And until next time, hopefully it won't be so long. Take care, everybody. Happy knitting, and remember, only do what brings you joy. Bye.